Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
All right, so we have Leah talked about Wonder Woman.
Correct.
Denise talked about Betty Boop.
Yes.
Oh, who are you?
Say it
Bonnie.
This is Bonnie. Have you met Bonnie?
Bonnie.
Katie,
Whoever
Bonnie,
she
Bonnie,
is,
Katie.
that woman talked about Sailor Moon.
You act like you haven't known her for like the last 4 years.
I just had a moment. I had a moment.
It is.
is.
Yeah, there's the Paps.
In the prophecy. No, I have a little buzz. Okay. You can cut loose with you ladies.
Always
I
cut
know.
loose with us. This place is
know.
Vegas. We don't judge. We just love.
We don't judge, we just love. That needs to be on a sticker.
Okay, I'll get on it. I have no pen this episode. Good thing I'm recording this, Katie. Katie,
Are you
recording it.
right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you? Oh, shoot.
I've only been recording the last 57 seconds.
Okay.
Did you get that Katie didn't know my name?
I got that.
I know
don't know
Bonnie.
Who you are. I think so.
I know
think,
Bonnie.
I think that might be
It
in the
was
blue
just
for
a
real.
moment when you
Or
know
Patreon.
you know when the pressure's on, you don't know your own name.
No, this is accurate.
When the pressure's on, but I got this.
You do. I believe in you.
All right.
Yes. Bring it.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Denise talking about our one cool cartoon thing. So Leah already talked about Wonder Woman.
Sweet.
Yes, and don't forget to sign up for Cam.
Yes, please. Cam.
And Denise already talked about Betty Boop.
Who you don't like.
I do now.
Oh,
You've changed my life.
thank
I do now. I do now. And then
She
what's
has
her name?
converted.
What's her name?
And then what's her name?
What's her name over here? Bonnie talked about Sailor Moon, or should I say Sailor Neptune? Or is only Sailor Moon the sailor? Are they all sailors?
They're all sailor.
Okay, so Sailor
Scouts or
Sailor Scout
Guardians.
Neptune.
They're all sailors, Captain.
Told us about Sailor Moon. But before we dive back in and talk about my one cool thing,
Yeah.
I want to get to know something random about you guys, which also is going to segue nicely into my one cool thing.
It's like you've planned it.
It is kind of like that, a little.
I dig it.
I would like to know, what comic strip did you guys read as kids?
Dun, dun, dun.
Right.
I remember Family Circle.
Oh, thank
Yes.
God someone else said it.
I
Yes.
remember Family Circle. I didn't really like dig it. I remember Garfield. Oh, Garfield I really liked.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I would look for the Garfield one, but I would also read the Family Circle
I
one.
used to read the Garfield books, and I remember laughing out loud on the bus reading them, and whew, that's kind of dorky.
My husband's mother donated to the girls her entire Garfield collection of books. And so they are holding on to them. They're all up in Cammie's room as the Garfield collection of books. They love them.
That's cute.
But also Addams Family. But I would say not so much like as a kid. There was an Addams Family in the New Yorker. And I would find those at like the bookstore and at the library. And I remember when my very first Christmas card as I've grown out, moved out on my own and have to do a Christmas card because I was still trying to figure out what that crap was. I bought an Addams Family one of Doesn't It Look Dreary, Darling? And it was an Addams Family cartoon. And I'm like this reminds me of what I should have been reading when I was little.
Yes.
And what I wanted to. So I think it was like the teenage angst in me. So yes, those ones were mine.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Bonnie, Denise.
Everyone's staring at me.
Yes.
I didn't read a whole lot of the newspaper comic strip thingies. I remember drawing my own.
Nice.
A
Little
That's
artist. I see
impressive.
that. Yes.
Very impressive. It was
She's, like,
not
blowing it off.
circulating, except to my parents.
But you were
Like-
still drawing, though.
No, I'm pretty sure his name was Bob, and he had like a mohawk and a rat tail that was like lime green. I don't even remember what
Classic.
the heck happened.
Yeah.
Do you read any comic strips as an adult? Because there's like a bunch of cool ones on Well, does that count as a
More
comic strip? It's a comic
Japanese.
book.
It's a graphic novel.
I'm talking
'cause
something
it's
that can be done in like 4 frames and you have a story.
Right, the little
Oh, no.
When I think like
the little strips.
newspaper comic strip, but there's some online. I've read a few as an adult that are like a few
I think
frames.
memes at this point would
Are
count.
yeah,
almost.
memes.
You know what I mean?
Memes.
Like
there is
especially
That is
one
definitely
or
taken over.
1 to 4.
there
Yeah.
is a lady. I'm trying to think what the heck her freaking name is.
You're not talking about the Ali Bosch lady, are you?
No, but I love her.
I'm gonna grab that book.
Those
while we're
are
talking.
it's kind of more of
Stay.
like a blog entry kind of a thing.
It is.
I love the one about how dumb her dog is. She tries to give her dog like an intelligence test.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah.
It sounds like she's the
Great.
dumb one.
Ali
Comic.
Bosch, hyperbole and a half.
And
Those are
wait,
so
there's
good.
a game based on a comic strip that randomly puts together and generates online. What is that one? It's in a white box. Joking Hazard?
I think so.
Joking Hazard is
Could
a...
Is that a pun on choking hazard?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it. Okay.
There's a few good ones. I mean,
Sorry,
there's
when
more
you have to
than a few.
explain it, it just
Right,
sounds
exactly.
like
You're
that.
like, wait a second, what?
Sorry.
I know that a couple episodes I talked about Alison Bechdel, who did the comic strip Dykes to Watch Out For, which is where the Bechdel test comes from.
Ooh, I've never
Yeah.
heard of that, but that sounds awesome.
Yes, and we actually have one of her graphic novels, but the Dykes to Watch Out For, that was a strip.
Are
that
you
I
my mother?
never-
That's the title of the book. Are
Yeah.
you my mother?
yeah, and it's a take on that
book,
kid's
book.
book. For Are You My Mother? And asking she wrote a book all about her relationship with her father that didn't go well. So she thought, hey, I'll put lightning in a bottle and write about my mother.
I love this person.
Alison Bechdel's amazing. Yes,
I love these Katana comics. And it's like this lady and her boyfriend.
Oh yes,
And
okay.
they're
I've
freaking
seen
adorable.
those. Yes, there you go.
But yeah, like this one, she's sneaking up on while he's on the computer, and she's like, "I'm naked."
I do that to my husband all the time.
See, you gotta whisper it.
I do.
Instead of I'm naked.
No, I do that too. Yeah, that's true. I just walk in. I just walk in without saying
that just
anything, and he
scares
looks at me
people.
like, "Really? We've been married for 32 years.
I
Do you
love
really
how-
think
That's
this
why the
impresses me?"
whispering, or maybe the singing. Make it a show too. There you go. I like it.
How about you, Denise? Do you have
Oh,
memories of
oh my
looking
God.
at the
Comic strips.
newspaper?
I'm so glad someone else said Family Circus because I was like, I'm going to date myself if I say remember that.
It was a long-running comic.
It
but
was.
I remember
and
it,
was like-
loving
It
it.
was
Thank
always
oh,
on
yeah.
the top too. That's the thing.
And the Peanuts. I always,
Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
read
yeah,
the
true.
Peanuts.
I did
and,
read
you
those.
know,
Yep.
Marmaduke. I like Nancy. What was it? Nancy? Kathy.
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 Yep,
Kathy.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
Dun, dun,
I
dun.
liked. But I wasn't a kid when that came out because I'm old. But you know what? I just Doonesbury. Doonesbury
Yep,
was so
the dog.
wonderfully political.
Oh,
no,
wait,
Doonesbury.
I
The
was thinking,
political.
That's right, the political one. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and so yeah,
Yes. Oh, I
love
dig
them.
it.
Love them.
I used to read them all, whether
See?
I got it
Yep.
or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just read through all of them.
See.
But definitely like Family Circus and Peanuts. Those were the
Yeah.
ones that I kind of got more than the others. But one that I was always really drawn to is actually Cathy, which you mentioned, right?
She's great.
And I don't know why, because I was pretty young when I read it and
Right.
looked at it. And it's very much about a woman in her 20s that's trying to reconcile being a feminist and being a career woman with having
How to have everything.
how to have everything, how to
Yeah.
have the family and the career goals and all that. And of course, I was a little kid, but I think I already could relate to the pressures of society because a
Yeah.
lot of it was talking about diet and what you look like and, you know, how you present yourself and I don't know. So I definitely
It was
was
real life
always
issues, yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
was definitely always drawn to the Cathy comics and always really appreciated those. And Dilbert.
Oh, that's
Okay, sorry, that just
Dilbert.
popped into my
I
head, but
love
Dilbert.
Dilbert, too.
I forget Dilbert. Yes, very
But
true.
I will be talking about the Cathy comics today, not Dilbert.
Okay, good because Kathy's better because the guy who wrote
Right.
Dilbert was kind of a douche.
But ooh,
Oh wait,
A little
did I
bit,
say
yeah.
that out loud? Okay.
yeah.
didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I call him out? Oh, that's what
So
we do.
you guys may or may not know this, but the person who wrote the Cathy comic strips is named Kathy.
No.
No.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say it was a
No
guy, and I
way.
was going to die.
Trevor.
No. No, her name's Cathy Guisewite.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I knew that. Yeah.
Guisewite.
Ah.
But she actually was very against them naming the strip Kathy.
Oh,
Why?
did she want like separation
She
of church and
did.
state?
She did.
Okay.
She didn't want it to be like too much about her. Because
Gotcha.
I think she entered it kind of unsure about things. So she didn't want, it to feel like her whole life, but in lots of ways it really was.
Yeah.
Like it was very
That feels fair.
autobiographical
Yeah.
of
Right.
her experiences in her life.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. I read an article where she talked about how Kathy is really her heart.
Aw.
Kathy is who she is.
Right.
But then when she expanded and had other characters, like I think her name was Andrea, the best friend.
Okay.
That's like her brain.
Oh.
So I think that's very cool that like
Different parts
she
of
puts different
herself,
parts of
different-
herself in different parts of this comic.
Brilliant.
It's a great idea.
Right? And
That's
it really
therapy right there.
Yeah, it is.
and
That
it
is
really
therapy.
followed her life
Yeah.
really well because it really focused on her relationship with her mom and the complexities of navigating that.
Yeah.
The having the career and how to represent herself in the career world.
Yeah.
So she's taken seriously, but isn't too much of a hard ass
Yeah.
or unlikable. And then as Kathy progressed, both Kathys progressed. They followed a little bit of the same arc of their lives.
Right.
Because did you guys know that Kathy was a comic that was in newspapers for 34 years?
No.
34 years?
34
I wouldn't have
years.
guessed. I would have guessed like maybe 5 or 10.
No, I would have guessed more than that, but it's not 34.
Wow.
34 years.
Wow. And was
Yeah,
she
it didn't end until 2010.
Was she on it the entire time too?
Yeah,
Was it hers?
It's hers.
Oh,
It was hers the
wow.
entire
How does someone
time.
come up with that kind of stuff for
All the
34
time for 34,
years?
yeah.
Every
Weekly.
single.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like she
man.
definitely is a person who was born to be a writer.
There you go.
So she probably already had she was always thinking of these ideas and scribbling them down, because it was never her intention to become a comic artist, a comic strip artist. She was born in Ohio in 1950.
Gotcha.
And then she moved to Michigan with her family.
Michigan.
Leah, I knew you'd
Jesus.
hook into that
I'm
one.
so sorry,
Sorry for her,
Kathy.
right?
I'm sorry.
So-
I will too spent time in Michigan.
She was really mainly raised in Michigan.
I'm sorry.
I think she went to college in Michigan, I
Oh,
believe.
no.
Yes.
That's what I read away. I said
Yes,
no.
she went to the University of Michigan at
Alright.
Arbor.
That
and
is a good school, though.
She did get her bachelor's degree in English.
Okay.
But what she did was she followed in her dad's footsteps and became a copy editor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She worked at an advertising agency, Campbell Ewald.
Sure.
Campbell.
Yeah.
That place
Campbell
in
Soup.
Detroit.
There you go. Yes.
But she worked there and actually became a vice president of it in 1976. So a super successful career woman.
Look at that women's liber in 76.
Absolutely.
Nice.
But in the meantime, she would sketch down her ideas, like these little funny things she had to say or thoughts, and she would send them on to her mom.
Oh.
And it was actually to both of her parents, but it was her mom that was like, "You could do a comic strip.
Yeah.
You should submit these. These are really good. These are really funny." I might be putting words in her mouth, but I'm guessing her mom might have been a little bit of an overbearing type mom. Because apparently her mom,
That happened to women?
her mom then went to the library
Oh.
to research how to become a comic strip artist, who you should contact, who you should submit things
Sounds
to.
like something I would do to my son.
And then continued to nag her about submitting these.
Oh.
So if you look at Cathy Guisewite, her Wikipedia entry, towards the top, it talks about one of the famous quotes that is part of Cathy and that she made up. And that's that there's the 4 basic guilt groups.
Nice. Okay. Yes.
Do you guys know the 4 basic guilt groups?
No. Is it mother, father, best friend? No, I'm just kidding.
Eating,
Oh, yeah, totally.
work,
Okay. Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
and having a mother.
The mother does get one all to themselves. Yeah.
So honestly, a lot of quotes by Cathy just talk about how she basically wanted to shut her mom up about this idea of her having a comic strip.
I think it's the ultimate revenge of having the comic strip and doing nothing but like
But
bad
her
your
mom was clearly right.
Yeah,
She was right and wrong at the same
There's
time.
no winning.
right. So she said, okay, I will send it in.
Right, yeah.
And she sent it in, and they loved it. They were actually like actively looking for material by women.
Okay.
So that's
Totally
cool.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
They were like, we need like to add this to the mix.
Cool. Whatever quota you're trying to fill, man.
Right. So she was syndicated into 66 newspapers in 1976.
Sweet.
So they said, she was shocked. They said, like, send us a series of 8, send them out here, and we'll see about this. Mm-hmm. So she submitted all of them, and they took off. She sent them somewhere in California. I forget which agency she used.
Gotcha.
But anyway, she's still working her day job at the advertising agency. Yeah. She described the day that it came out in the newspapers for the first time that she basically hid in the bathroom all day because she was really worried about people reading it and about it being really like her soul, her inside thoughts, like very revealing to who she is.
And comics weren't respected. She was in a she was in an advertising firm, you know what I mean? So it was probably that respectable writing versus, lowly comic. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there was that aspect of it too. Aww.
Right. So, but she was hugely successful, as you guys all know, and that within 4 years, so by 1980, she was in 150 papers and earning $50,000 a year.
Whoa.
Nice.
Enough to like live on.
Yeah.
So at that point, 4 years into it, she decided to quit her job and move to California and pursue doing Cathy full time.
Ah, look at that.
So, yes. Super, super cool.
Nice.
But here's my question. She didn't, you wouldn't know the answer to this, but she probably was using her job as the source for her cartoon.
That's true.
Or her mom.
So, and her mom.
Mom wasn't going anywhere.
So she gave up the job. That's a big risk.
Right, yeah.
She
That
had
is.
courage.
And maybe she had a lot of source material, though.
Yeah, maybe she did. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
just like, if you just have journal after journal after journal, being
That's
like,
true. Yeah.
a well that won't run dry.
It only took like 5 years for me to. Well, let's see. I do have the Wikipedia open in front of me. She graduated in 1972
Gotcha.
from college, so I guess really that's just 8 years out in the workforce
Ah,
before she retired, or not retired, but like quit and
Found
moved
her-
on to doing
her dream
Cathy
job.
full time.
yeah.
So a dream job she never even knew she was going to have as
Sometimes you
a
just
dream job. Yeah.
fall into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was actually, I think, Charles Schultz who
Peanuts
influenced
guy.
her to move to California
I bet.
because she had gone to an awards ceremony to be recognized for her comic achievements early on. And I guess like he rarely went to these things, but she had heard that he was a fan of hers.
Aww.
Isn't that cool? So she said
that's
she
a
was
claim to
like
fame, yeah.
she was like sitting there at the thing, and then suddenly like the crowds parted, and it was him like walking in, and it was him walking in, and he totally like came up and started a conversation, and they started a friendship. So
That's very
and she even asked him, she's like, how do you know when you've made it as a comic strip artist? Like, how do you know when you don't have to worry about having a backup and like getting the bills paid? And he just told her 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
10 years. So she decided for him to make sure she did it at least 10 years.
There you go.
And so it was super cool. And, much like the Betty Boop stuff, it became popular in popular culture. So suddenly it was like there was merchandise and a whole brand, and she really ran with that and managed with that. Right. There was all kinds of Cathy stuff. I read a really cool interview where somebody came to her house to interview her, and she has a whole room of Cathy stuff. I thought that was really cute. Like the greeting cards, the baking pans,
shrine
the
to
whatever.
myself.
Spread has Cathy on it.
I mean, they had everything, Cathy. And she even, I think she won an Emmy maybe
There
because
was
she
a
did
show.
an online.
Didn't they have
It was like I think a 3-part type special.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 1987, she received an Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program for the TV special Cathy, which aired on CBS.
Look at that. She has an Emmy.
Thanks, Mom.
Right. So she definitely, like, the whole beginning focus of her comic strip was this generation she was a part of too. And I don't think I'm going to be able to find the quote because, of course, her quote's amazing, and I'm going to fudge this up. But
it's okay.
Essentially,
that's
she
why
was
we have show notes,
right? Put in the show notes. But essentially, she felt like she was in a generation that was caught between the Bettys, is how she described it.
Oh, okay,
that
gotcha.
her mom was very Betty Crocker and like homemaker and tending to the house, and then she was also reading about, was it Betty Friedman?
Oh, Betty
Yeah.
Friedan.
Friedan.
Yes. Gotcha. There you
And
go.
this feminist, like, liberated ideal and this businesswoman thing. So she felt like,
I can see that.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
where do I fit? And
Yeah.
that's really what inspired a lot of the Cathy comic.
Oh,
That makes
interesting.
sense.
Yeah.
Trying to find the middle between the Bettys.
Bettys, right.
I get it.
So, and I'm so hoping we get this for the library. I might get it eventually one day, but she actually just published a book last year.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it
Like
was
a biography.
biography? It was one of her first works since the comic strip ended in 2010.
Oh, nice.
And it's called 50 Things That Aren't My Fault, Essays from the Grown-Up Years.
Oh, I love that.
That sounds
That
adorable.
sounds really good.
And I wish I would have had time to read it before tonight, because
Yeah.
I guess she also addresses in it people that feel like Cathy is not beneficial to the feminist movement.
Oh,
That
what?
it's a lot of, there are a lot of people that are like, you know, it's like
Can't please
making
all.
fun of yourself and like
It's
the
about the time.
caving, you know,
Yeah.
resisting this dessert because you have to fit the ideal, and like they feel like it's very I don't know.
Cathy wasn't
Yeah.
militant enough for some.
It's about being in the moment, and Cathy was
is.
right for the moment.
Exactly. And she was being true to
She was
herself.
exactly. She was being
Not
true to herself.
Everybody's a frontline marcher.
And you
Yeah.
know what? You're not perfect. Guess what? Welcome to the world.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, she says she responds to some Cathy critics
Yeah.
in this most recent book she writes. And she said, some people thought my work reinforced the negative stereotype of women being obsessed with shopping, weight, and love, she writes. But it wasn't my fault. We still live in a world that partially judges women by what we wear, how much we weigh, and whether or not and who or how we love.
Yeah.
Not my fault that with every glorious new possibility for women came an extra sense of isolation when we not only couldn't keep up, but were told we shouldn't talk about the things that held us back.
Right, exactly. Yes.
That's a great thing to
She
say.
really
Yes.
worded that very, very well. Yeah, exactly. Because it is a complex issue. And those things didn't go away. You still need a voice for that.
Absolutely. And she said this most recent book, she retired from her comic strip to spend more time with her teenage daughter.
Cool.
And to take care of her aging parents. I guess her mom is like 96 now and is very spry, but she spends a lot of time with them. So
Still
she said,
taking care of her mom.
right, she said a lot of the things she wrote in this book were like notes she jotted down between visits to her parents or whatever. But yeah, she had a really interesting path to what she did, because she definitely felt like in her 20s, in her 30s, it was time to focus on career. And
Yeah.
she said she wanted that love and that relationship, but she felt like, you know,
Career,
she wanted
career,
that
career.
career thing.
Yeah.
So she entered into her 40s and realized she also wanted to have a kid.
Yeah.
And so she ended up adopting her daughter.
Oh, cool.
And then after she adopted her daughter, she's like, maybe my daughter should have a dad. I think that would be great too.
Sure.
Just an afterthought.
Right?
What else?
Cracks me up. So she actually also ended up getting married, and it was around that time that she had Cathy get married in the comic strip.
You know, she got some pushback for
She
that.
did, because she had said, I think she had said she'd keep Cathy single.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
people
her
were
response was like, yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, and she said, like, well, I thought she'd be single. I was single, but now...
Right, exactly. Cathy is me, and I am Cathy,
Yeah.
and we
Now I
decided
got
to get
married.
You know
married.
what?
So
Sometimes your plans change.
exactly.
Right.
Right.
Life.
You write what you know.
So it sounds like she's a very determined woman. So since she decided her daughter should have a father, she met a man at playgroup that didn't know about Cathy, didn't know about her comic strip, didn't read it. Right.
Was he living under a rock?
Right.
Never read the comics.
She
always
also
in the
mentioned that
science
it was
section.
super intimidating that she thought to men to know that they might end up as a joke in her Cathy comic
sure.
strip.
Yeah, that
'cause
makes
that
sense.
happened.
Well, I'm sure any woman who has dated a male comedian also
Right.
thought the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
mean, it goes the
It's
same
scary.
way.
It
If you
does.
have an artistic, significant other,
Absolutely.
that's what you have to decide that you are fodder for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of the same things that happened to her in her life happened to Cathy. I think though when she retired Cathy in 2010, I think Cathy was still married to what was his name? It was an odd one.
I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't make it
was
that
in
far.
here.
Don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
It was in the stuff I read.
Gotcha.
But real life Cathy
Real
the
life
creator,
Cathy, yes.
she did end up divorced. I think they were married about a decade or something, but they
Gotcha.
did get
I mean,
divorced.
more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. So, I mean, 10 years is pretty good odds at this point.
Right. They had their time, but now she's a single lady with a place in California and is just wrote that book. And she said she's, super excited to be able to impart more full thoughts because, of course, a comic's very
Yeah.
abbreviated. So
Yes.
she was able to elaborate on her thinking and insights in the book. So I'm really excited about the idea of reading the book, and I hope I actually make myself do that at some point in the future because I think it sounds fascinating, and she's fascinating.
Yeah, it sounds like
So-
there's many dimensions that you get little glimpses of in the comic, but to be
Yeah.
able to digest it and kind of parse it out of all the different, portions of her, I think that would be very cool. Lessons learned.
Absolutely. We definitely need her to have a spot on our shelves here.
Yes.
Oh, God, yes.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
I love it. We'll have to put it on the wish list. We need a grant.
Do you hear that out there, world? Grants.
Grants, donations, Patreons, all those things. All those things buy books for library. Fantastic. So did you have any questions for us? Did you guys have any questions for Katie? About Katie for Kathy. No, Kathy for Katie.
Kathy,
Oh, no.
Katie. We both like cake.
There's-
Both are very frustrated by men.
Who doesn't like
Right.
cake?
Exactly.
Oh my
I hear
God.
you.
It's like my favorite food.
Cake. Yeah.
It
No,
is.
it's my favorite food group. Yes.
If there's a cake, if there's leftover cake in my house, it will be eaten for every
I was gonna
meal
say there is
until
no
it's gone.
leftover cake.
Until it's gone, because it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, every snack in
See?
between.
Exactly.
It's just cake is awesome.
We have little baby cakes.
I know. I've been
The
eating
little,
them,
the little, they're little baby size.
and I'm sure that the microphone has picked up me crunching these chips that you brought in, Katie.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. We get to exist in show. I was trying to find the name of is the husband the same name in the comic as it is
Oh,
in
no.
real life?
It's-
Okay,
no.
so she
What
did
do
change
you
the name
mean?
of the husband. Okay, all right.
No, he's different.
I
And
was-
maybe he existed even before. I think she had him as a longtime boyfriend for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm trying
was
to.
it?
I
It
see
might
an
be a
Emerson.
That could have been it. It was
It says
something.
Emerson was one of the first boyfriends introduced, but there was an Irving first.
Irving's the one she married, though.
Oh!
That's his real name was Irving.
The guy in the comic.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very,
I'll have to look at.
very cool.
I think her guy, her.
He
husband
didn't like
was-
cats.
That's kind of a deal breaker in my house.
Yeah. her ex was. Oh, I was wrong about how long they were married.
Oh, how long were they married? A year.
Her ex was
No, I don't know.
Christopher Wilkinson, and they were married from 1997 to 2011.
Oh, that's a long. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Shit.
14
Math.
years.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, my math's just bad. I thought
There
it
you
was
go.
less than 10. No, it's 14.
There you go. No,
It's a good run.
It is a very good run. Yes, exactly.
I mean, but
Yes.
honestly, the interviews I've seen with her just sound like she's super happy and content and settled and
Nice. I want a gal to be happy, and I want her to
Right?
have cake.
absolutely. Although I will tell you, I thought it was really interesting. One of the interviews, they interviewed her at her home, and she set out this array of cakes, and neither of them ate any
Well,
of
there's
the
that.
cakes.
There is that.
That's not right.
Right.
It's also an interview. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you got, face all made up and you're trying to be all nice and presentable.
Right.
I'll
Wait a
bet you
minute,
that
was
cake
it
was
on-
devoured as
was
soon
it-
as they left.
Yeah, was it on? Was it videoed? Because if no one's seeing you, I'm
Right.
shoving that stuff in my mouth.
Exactly.
I don't give a shit what it looks like.
Oh, fantastic. Well, do you want to wrap us up, darling?
Absolutely.
I love it.
On it.
Oh, you get to do final close.
I never get to do this.
Oh, final close.
All right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, that wraps it up for Cartoon Month. Join us next Monday as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote and celebrate Suffrage Month. And check back in with Bonnie.
I know.
On the big project.
There's so many things. You can do it, Bonnie.
I don't know what I'm going to do for the podcast.
She's going to have all of her artwork done.
I'm just going to list all the ladies.
I like it. That can be your project. We look forward to it.
Will you tune in August all and find out,
can just-
y'all?
Listen to me paint.
Yes. The cooling sounds of Bonnie painting. She won't at all be frantically painting the entire time during the recording of Suffragette Month. Thank you, everybody. For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.